Welcome to the Kettle Hills Board of Commissioners meeting. We will call our meeting to order. And first item on the business, if you would join us and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may notice that our town manager is not with us tonight. We're appreciative that our assistant town manager is here. But I would like to ask that you all keep Debbie's husband Victor in your thoughts and prayers. He's been going through some medical issues, just got out of the hospital Sunday. They're home, but still has a road to haul to full recovery and healing. So if you'll please keep both of them in your thoughts and prayers. So, I was happy to see our town attorney here. Forgive him if he has bags under his eyes, but congratulations. He and his wife welcomed a new addition to their family.
Number three.
Number three, that's right. So I guess Harlan
Shea.
Harlan Shea.
Yes, ma'am.
So hopefully mom and baby are doing well, and thanks for
She
being
got all
with
three
us.
of them today. Daycare was out, so I have a 3-year-old and a newborn, so I'll
Oh my
get
goodness.
home and take over whatever duties may be there. I'm sure plenty.
Well, thanks for being here and good luck tonight. So, and then I'd also like to share Rachel that works upstairs in the administration office. Well, up until Saturday, it was Rachel Herman, but she got married Saturday to Chris Tackett. So now it's Rachel Tackett. They're on their honeymoon, I think the Dominican Republic I saw. So yeah, exciting, some happy news to share as well. And with that, I would like to ask if we could enter into a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to agenda approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great.
I would like to add that under presentations and introductions and presentations, we're going to have a 3 or 4 minute video update on tourism board meeting in September. I'm the representative for our town there. And to see how that works, I think it's a good way to let everybody know what went on at the meetings. And we'll see if that's well received, and we might keep doing it in the future as long as they're short.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good. So we'll do that. It did need to be officially added since we're not taking any action. So. All right, then we'll move on to public comment. There's 2 times set aside this evening for public comment. This is the first opportunity where anyone in the audience who wishes to address the board on any topic can do so. We have a sign-up sheet, but if you didn't sign up, no worries. We also call from the floor afterwards. We do ask if you're speaking at public comment that when you're called upon, you would approach the podium, identify yourself by name and address, please. We also ask that if you're speaking as an individual, if you try to keep your comments to 3 minutes. If you're speaking on behalf of a group, if you could limit those comments to 5 minutes. That way we make sure that everyone who wishes to speak, we have plenty of time to do that, and we're not here too late tonight. So we did have one person sign up. That's Josh Freer, if I said that right, I hope.
Yep.
So welcome, Josh, if you'd like to speak first.
Hello, Board of Commissioners. Hello, everybody. My name is Josh Freer. I live at 701 West 3rd Street. I'm a Cordova Hills resident for almost 20 years. And I'm here tonight just to kind of be a voice for the local skate community and propose the idea of lights for Aviation Skate Park. On the 18th of September, we started a petition for the lights, and we gained 858 signatures to this day, which I have here with me tonight. And just being an individual growing up in this community, I feel that the skate park is a really fun, constructive, positive environment for our youth. And I feel that lights would be a relatively low-cost way to extend the hours of access to our youth and give them more time to be in a safe place rather than, being a kid here. I know that when kids get bored, that's usually when the trouble starts. So, and also now myself being a young adult, many other adults in the skate community that work 9-to-5 jobs don't get to utilize the park as much as we'd like to, and the lights would kind of give us an opportunity to use it more and get more enjoyment out of it. And that's about all I had to propose to you. Thank you for your time, and please consider the idea.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate you coming tonight. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this public comment time?
is Elliot Eubank. I've been a resident here for 28 years. Born and raised. To continue on to the with the lights at the skate park. Kind of an idea for the lights. I've been to several skate parks before throughout the country, and they do kind of like a timer where you pay $1 for an hour, and then the lights will turn off. So in return, these lights would pay for themselves over time. And say you could have lights only stay on till 11 at night, so no one would be out there late, doing who knows what. So I just want to propose that idea and say, hey, that could pay for itself, so we're not just wasting money on this stuff. So, all I got.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
1418 Molly Street, Kildover Hills. Hey.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this public comment time? Yes, sir. Welcome.
My name is Kevin Eubank, and I'm the father of Elliot, and live 1418 Molly Street, Kildover Hills. I've been a resident of Kildover Hills since 1972. I was in the fire department for approximately 20 years. Seen a lot of changes, and my son's been riding BMX since probably he was 12 years old, and when the sandbox closed, my front yard became a BMX park. Needless to say, I've seen a lot of these kids grow up in the community, and I really think that lights at the skate park would definitely give the older kids a little bit more of a chance to skate when they get off work at night, or bike when they get off work at night. And most of these older kids, they pretty much kind of clean the place up, kind of keep police action out in it, so they make sure that the other kids are not doing things that they're not supposed to be doing. And I really think that it would be a great thing for the town of Kildover Hills. Maybe they could, put on some demonstrations at some point in time, and maybe raise a little extra money for certain benefits. They've been doing the Shred Fest for 2 years now. He's been in that. All these guys have been in it for a couple of years now, to raise money for, like I said, for different organizations. And I just believe that it would be very good for our town to be involved in the first lighted skate park. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this public comment time? Okay, we'll move to response to public comment. I would first like to say to Josh, Elliot, and Kevin, thank you so much for coming out and speaking. Some of you I may have seen in the community, but the fact that you came and took your time to speak at public comment. We frequently talk about how do we get people more engaged in our meetings, and how do we get to hear more voices. And so I really appreciate you guys stepping up and sharing with us face to face. So I speak on the whole board, on behalf of the whole board for that. So thank you.
Josh, are you?
I was gonna say, and I know Travis has looked into this a little bit. He saw, I think, some of the content on social media, on Facebook, with the petition being shared and 850 signatures. That's pretty significant. I know do you want to share anything that you have?
Yeah, so, I want to thank you guys for coming out to take the massage. So I think it's a great idea. So we've got the preliminary stages of an estimate, for some lighting. Sean's been working on that. Right now, it'd be something that we would have to put into the budget for next year, would be my assumption, if we're gonna do something like this or move forward with it. I like the idea, Elliot, of, the timer, being able to potentially at least offset some of the costs, if nothing else, the operating costs. Right now, I think we're, for the 3 lights, site work, electrical work, we're right around 100,000 for everything, and it's probably a high-end estimate, but at least I'd like to hope it is. But I mean, I'd like to, with the board, to try to figure out a way to move forward with this and try to make this a reality.
Comments that
Are you gonna keep collecting signatures? You ready to turn that petition in yet?
I have it with me here tonight. I'd be happy to turn it in if you'd like.
Okay, it's your choice. If you wanna keep it, get some more signatures, or else you can give it to Michael there.
Will do.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't feel like you have to.
I don't think you have to do too many more, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think that the case has been made. You know, I think the work that will be before the board and maybe tapping back into you all too, though, is how do we bridge this gap of the funding issue? I know with, for example, with the disc golf course that the town is, or hopefully, or nearing completion, that's been funded exclusively through donations and sponsorships and so on and so forth, but it took a community volunteer and a couple of other community volunteers to hit the pavement to make that happen. So it may be something, I'm seeing the nods on the board that seem to be open to it. It's gonna then be, how do we make the funding plan work? So don't be surprised if you hear back from us about, you know, how can we work together and trying to see a way to do that. So, but with 850 people already signed up, maybe we can find a way to bridge that gap sooner than later. And maybe we'll work on communication with Sean and Debbie at what point we want to have this on an agenda, upcoming agenda item sooner rather than later, to have a full discussion of how do we move forward. And that way in preparation for whether it's budget or okay, great. Thanks again. Awesome. All right, we'll move on to introductions and presentations, and this is where Mike's going to share about the tourism board and the meeting.
Hi, I'm Lee Nettles, the Executive Director of the Outer Banks Visitors Bureau, here with your Dare County Tourism Board meeting recap for the month September 21st. For this meeting, we were up in the town of Duck. Thanks to the town for hosting us. First up, we heard from the Budget and Finance Committee with a report on occupancy and meals collections. We'd kind of forewarned going into the month of July that the figures may be down. You'll recall that we had a power outage on Hatteras Island for the last couple of days of July. And then also 2016 July was posting some huge numbers. So it was really going to take quite an effort to surpass those figures. For instance, July 2016 occupancy was up 18%. Well, despite these headwinds, we saw another banner month of July. Record numbers, in fact, on the occupancy and the meals side. Occupancy for July was up 7%. The calendar year-to-date figures up 9%. Meals collections, we saw slower growth, but growth nonetheless, up 1% for July, and calendar year-to-date up 7%. Next, we heard from the Grants Committee. The Grants Committee recently got together and had a couple of items on its agenda, one being the event grants to review and make determinations, recommendation to the full board. We also had one other issue which came before the board at the September meeting, and that was with regard to a particular established event developer grant recipient who had fallen pretty far behind on their reimbursement paperwork. So the board provided direction to staff to try and get that recipient into compliance and execute the remainder of the contract. So that's what staff's going to go about doing now. In other grant news, the committee made its recommendation to the full board based on the review of the first wave of 2 of event grants. You'll recall that the event grants, we have application windows in the first half of August and then again in the first half of February. For this window, we received 12 applications. The Grants Committee met and reviewed each of these applications and considered them thoroughly, thinking about such things as the projected number of out-of-market visitors, the projected economic impact, the growth potential for these events, the time of year that the events were scheduled to take place, and other considerations such as these. Based on the Grants Committee's recommendation to the board awarded some amount of money to each of these 12 applicants. The 12 applicants and the dollars awarded totaled $122,500. For a full list of the awards, you can go to outerbanks.org/grants. The last thing on the agenda at the September 21st meeting was a report from staff who shared news that the Outer Banks Visitors Bureau had recently won 2 gold awards at the Destination Marketing Achievement competition that happened in Charlotte. The first gold award was received for the fabulous OBX Daydream video series. The second gold award was received for a print advertisement. This concluded the business for the Tourism Board in September. We have another meeting scheduled for October 19th, and for that meeting we will return to Roanoke Island. The meeting will be held at 9 o'clock at the Welcome Center. All the meetings, of course, are open to the public, and we encourage you to attend if you're able to. Thank you, and take care.
Questions? You guys like being able to have these? This is a new initiative that they're doing as far as.
The last one was a 2-month recap, and it was about 8 minutes long. That was for July and August. He's going to try to do it every month now. We have a 3 or 4 minute one that, we can share and won't take up too much time. Better than me trying to tell you all that.
That's great. I
Yeah,
appreciate
I like it. Yeah, that's good.
Great, thank you. All right, we'll move then to new business, item number 1. This is the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Duck Field Research Facility. This is a proposal to conduct near-shore video observation and analysis of nourished coastline in Killable Hills. Let's see. Do we have anyone here with us tonight? Hey,
Hey, how's
how are
it
you?
going? Good.
Good. Just in case you want to.
Sure. Yeah, I just came if there were any questions or anything. but
Yeah.
it's-
So basically, this is a proposal to observe the evolution of the beach nourishment projects in Kitty Hawk and Killable Hills through high-resolution video cameras. We would have 11 cameras placed in Killable Hills, is that?
It'd be 10 total, 5 in Killable Hills and 5 in Kitty Hawk.
Okay, all right. And basically, there's not really action on our part other than just facilitating any communication, or I guess specifically me having some communication with the private property owners, because that's where these cameras would be placed, or would be on private property, encouraging them to participate and allow this.
Exactly. And the FRF went ahead and found 11 possible locations, but of those, they're just looking for 5 cameras in
Okay.
Killable Hills, just in case some folks are interested. So.
I think this is wonderful. I
Yes.
mean, for us to get a lot of great information through research that someone else is conducting, and
Absolutely.
it's a win-win.
And I don't know if you guys have seen the FRF website, just those still shots that they take, but they basically, I mean, it'd be a way to get shots of the beach, every couple of hours from those 5 different locations. And then they actually put together an animation of the duck project from their Argus camera at the tower over there. And we can forward that on to you. I know Meredith has it, but basically just being able to observe the way the sandbars are moving after the project, just really neat. And really good just for long-term.
And Julian, is this a connection did they reach out to you? Is this how this started, or how did this
They did.
come about? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
We, just in general, the LiDAR surveys, we're always kind of talking back and forth, and I share a lot of the drone footage and videos with them, so it's just kind of constant communication.
It's just another great example of a partnership. And so-
Absolutely.
Any questions for Julian?
That's a great idea.
Would any of the footage be made available as like a webcam, or would it only be available after the fact, or?
I believe it takes a few hours to upload, sort of thing, but it'd be the same as the FRF Argus camera they have right now. You'd be able to pull it up online and view those shots. Every so hours when they're uploaded.
So is consensus appropriate, or do we need a motion? Consensus appropriate, so specifically that then I can work with staff, draft the letter, get it to the potential property owners, and work together with you all to
Yeah,
it happen.
fantastic. That'd be
Okay.
great.
Wonderful.
Wonderful, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's great.
Thanks,
Okay. And moving on to new business item number 2, 2A, We have two site plans to review. The first is with Florida OBX LLC. This is at 111 Carolyn Drive in the commercial zone. This is a proposed 7,750 square foot, 5-unit multifamily dwelling with 11 parking spaces and associated site modifications. Welcome. Good evening.
Hello.
So we have this information in our packet that did go before the planning board and was sent favorably with us with a few conditions that have been addressed that were.
The plan in your packet addresses all the conditions from the planning board with the exception of the curbing along Carolyn Drive. And there's correspondence from coastal engineering in your packet saying that they'll address that in a plan revision. And so we're recommending approval subject to that one condition. And Carlos is here to speak to it.
Welcome, Carlos.
Carlos Gomez, coastal engineer.
Any questions for Carlos or anything you want to share? We probably have it here in front of us, but.
Brian has been very helpful. Got a lot of help from him. It was a difficult project and made it work. It looks a little more commercial than residential, but we got it working, and that was a good thing.
Good, good. Glad to hear that, yeah. Yeah, I looked at that plan and I think it looks pretty nice, actually.
Thank you.
I didn't see any issues with it.
Questions or? Okay, if no questions or comments, then a recommendation, or excuse me, a motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion that we approve the site plan for Florida OBX LLC, 111 Carolyn Drive in the commercial zone. Proposed 7,750 square foot, 5-unit multifamily dwelling, 11 parking spaces, and associated site modifications subject to curb terminals at the edge of the pavement need to be recessed from the edge of the pavement using a minimum 18-inch gutter.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Let's see. The next item is site plan. It's also a site plan 2B. This is the town of Pivotal Hills, 1634 North Croatan Highway in the commercial zone. This is to replace the existing elevated water tank, construct a monopole cellular tower, and associated site improvements. And welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Board of Commissioners and staff. And this is going to be fun for me to say. And don't mind my cheating for 3 months, but I'm Pete Berkheimer of American Engineering, residence address 302 St. Louis Street, Kildare Hills, North Carolina, 27948.
I get a little more flow in that part,
Yeah,
but that's
well,
wonderful.
it's going to take some getting used to,
That's
but
right.
you notice the smile on the face.
Congrats.
Anyway, with me here tonight is Dan Vilhauer from Dewberry. And this is before you officially as a site plan approval item. But with your leave, we're going to just give you a very quick update on it. American and our predecessor firm, Engineering Services of Virginia, has worked with town staff for more than 10 years to approve our water infrastructure pursuant to water system master plans that have been prepared with two main goals, overall goals: rehab or replace aging, outdated facilities, and increase and enhance the system's capability. And in a water system, you can do the domestic flows pretty easily. It's for providing those high volume, longer duration fire flows that are the real challenge. And you've watched as we've taken high strength 16-inch diameter water mains, pretty much the whole length of Beach Road, and done other things. And we're perhaps 30% done on our 30 or so year program to gradually replace the asbestos cement water mains in town with modern lines that will hold their strength for an indefinite period of time. But part of the master plan that was prepared for you in 2012 is to replace the now 53-year-old 200,000 gallon elevated tank at the old town hall site, or for those of us who don't remember when that was the town hall as clearly, I guess you'd call it the fire station site now. And for this, we teamed with the nationally renowned infrastructure firm of Dewberry. The current tank has had cell equipment on it for about the last 10 years. You're all familiar with that arrangement. And it's worked pretty well for the town. It's been financially satisfying. We think maybe it's taken a little bit of a toll on the tank, and it's the old leg-style tank as opposed to the newer, more modern spheroidal tank that Dan will talk more about. So we're now proposing that we separate those two functions and that a new approximately 180-foot monopole tower be built for cell purposes, still in the same general area, and that we'll build an approximately 160-foot tall pedosphere type tank for water. And so, Brian, if you bring up the site plan slide, this is sort of an annotated version of the site plan whose approval we ask you to grant tonight. Its main purpose at this stage is just to show the arrangement of the components on the site. The blue circle is where the new elevated tank would go, maybe 100 and some feet to the west of where the current elevated tank is, and fairly close to where the current ground storage tank is. North is up on this, and unfortunately, no, I guess it isn't unfortunate. We're going to make lemonade out of these lemons. About the only place we could put it is into the DOT drainage easement that lies between the fire station water complex and Meekins Field. And that 50-foot drainage easement, we need that space for the new tank. And so the existing, somewhat aged, somewhat under capacity corrugated steel drainage line that runs down beside, well, it runs as an open ditch down beside the Dare Center, and then as a pipe between the field and the complex. That's going to have to be shifted over, but the DOT will get the call on how big it's got to be, and they're not going to allow it to go back per the old standards. So we're also showing a new larger line running in front of the fire station and down the south side of the EMS access road, joining where the remaining ditch is already today. So there's a lot of moving parts to this: the drainage coordination with DOT, the coordination between the replacement of the cell tower function on a new monopole with your cell tower consultant, VCOM. And so, again, a lot of parts to it. Next slide, if you will, Brian. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dan Vilhauer of Dewberry to finish our presentation, and we'll both stand by for questions.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Pete. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I'm very happy to be here in front of you. So again, my name is Dan Vilhauer. I'm with Dewberry Engineers, and we're a sub-consultant to American Engineering as we're working our way through this elevated tank replacement project. So here on this slide, this gives you an example of a multi-leg tank, which is on the right, compared to what we're proposing, which is the pedosphere tank. So, as Pete hinted at, you have a lot more connections and difficult parts and pieces to paint on a multi-leg tank, so it's just a lot more expensive. You have more frequent maintenance, more frequent coating, as well as just the aesthetic appeal of the pedosphere tank. We are proposing to go away from the multi-leg tank to the pedosphere tank, and that's if you look at the Nags Head tank next at 8th Street, that would be a similar type of tank as we're proposing. If you go to the so this is an example, just a picture of the type of the monopole that we would put up on that site as well. So we would take the cell tower equipment off the elevated tank, that would make it more aesthetically pleasing, and put it on a tower next to it. So giving you a little bit of background of what we've done so far. So we worked with American Engineers to put together a preliminary engineering report that we finished about a month ago. And for that report, we updated and calibrated the hydraulic model for the town's water system. It included the Dare water transmission system as well. And in addition, we coordinated with the town's fire department to determine what fire flow goals we wanted to achieve throughout the entire town. So that, coupled with our new model, we were able to identify not only what size tank we would need, but also any other improvements in the system to achieve those goals. So first thing that we identified is we wanted to upsize that tank from an existing 200,000 gallon tank to a 400,000 gallon tank. The height would be the same as the existing tank. And then we also identified, there's an existing pump station that pumps water from the Dare County system into the elevated tank. We identified that we should put in a third pump in that booster station to increase capacity during a fire event. And there's already space in that booster station for that third pump, so that upgrade should be relatively easy to accomplish. And we looked at different configurations of that tank to ensure that you still maintain that same level of water quality in that tank, even though you would upsize the volume of the tank. So as far as schedule for the proposed project, so assuming that we had a notice to proceed in October to start design, we're anticipating that we would complete the design package, plans, specifications, bid documents, and receive regulatory approval by the middle of 2018. It would probably take about 2 months between advertising the bids and getting a contractor under contract. And the actual construction of the tank would take about 12 to 15 months. So all in all, you'd be looking at having a brand new tank by the end of 2019. If you could go to the next slide. And again, this is just a summary of some of the improvements in the water master plan that was done in 2012. One of those items was to replace that elevated tank.
Thank you, Dan. These last couple of items, again, were just highlighted in green to show you that you planned our work with the Water System Master Plan in 12, and we're working through that plan, not just on this, but on several other items. So that's what we planned for, so that our work is orderly and makes sense in a greater context. So with that, are there any questions of us from the board?
Any questions?
Are you gonna paint the top like a beach ball?
Sir, you are a member of the client team. You get to tell us, not ask us. If you want it to look like a beach ball, we can make that happen.
I don't think so.
Great. Any questions or other comments? I think this looks good. When you adopt plans in the future and you see how, this as well as our street drainage and improvement plans, when you see them coming to fruition the way that you intended and designed, it feels good, and it's smart development and redevelopment and doing what we need to be doing. So this is a huge infrastructure and a huge project. And when you look at the spending track of historical spending and then what we're getting into, it's a big commitment, but it's a vital commitment. So I'm pleased to see where we are with it.
When this is done, if it's your pleasure to send us forward with it, starting around the end of 2019, God forbid, but if there's a fire, we'll be able to put 5,000 gallons a minute on it and sustain that for 4 full hours.
Wow.
And, we hope you never need it, but 7 Cs, for example, prove that sometimes you will. When a fire gets into one of these wooden structures on a windy evening, you want all the assets you can bring to bear. Not a scaremonger, just saying, I think this is a good investment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, a motion would be in order for this site plan approval.
Make a motion that we approve the construction and replacement of the existing elevated water tank and construct a monopole cellular tower associated with the site improvements as presented.
Okay, there's a motion to approve the site plan. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion, questions? All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great.
Thank you very much, and with your leave, we're going to start our drives northward. Have a good evening.
Isn't yours much shorter now?
Not quite yet. That officially happens about January 10th.
Oh, great. Great.
Thank you both very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, move on. We're already to Commissioner's agenda. Commissioner Midget?
Okay, so I took some pictures up in Southern Shores a couple evenings ago, and I had to enlist the help of two stunningly beautiful models who we'll be seeing here shortly.
Which picture do you
The non-lightsaber one. So Southern Shores installed these crosswalk LED lights, and this is completely dark out, and that's what it looks like when you come up on someone that's at the crosswalk. And I think that this is like a really non-offensive light, and I think we might want to consider doing something like this on our beach road. You know,
Michael, does the light come on once you approach it, or does it stay on all the time?
They stay on all the time, but, you know, it's not like it's a traffic light, not a traffic light, the lights on the 158 where they're really bright, you can see them far away. So once you get close, you can see that there's light there and that someone's standing there. And I just thought, you know, we've talked about these types of lights, but without actually knowing what they look like, it's kind of hard to say, is this something we want or not? So that's why we rode up there and we, you know, checked it out to see what it really would look like.
And these are LED.
Yep.
So you can't really tell it's there from, as far as you looking at the light or getting into your eyes as you're driving up to it.
Right, from a distance, they're not that bright. Once you get closer, it seems like it's just enough light to see that there's someone there ready to cross.
Does the one light light up the whole?
It lights up half, there's another light on the other side. And that's all, I just wanted to let you guys know what it, you know, what it looks like in reality.
Well, I would say, again, kind of, at one of our future meetings, we need to talk about what the board thinks, what they wanna do. Do we wanna start working on getting pricing and ask for town staff to look into this further? So,
Weren't we talking with Nags Head and Kitty Hawk about getting some kind of uniformity? Remember that from last year, I think?
there were some discussions, I think Debbie was having some discussions with Flip, maybe? I don't remember.
Yes, there, I don't know, Steve, do you recall any, actual formal, discussions on uniforming the lights? There has been some discussion, I think, with Nags Head. But I'm not aware exactly what, you're not either.
On the beach road?
Yeah, I think that's where the conversation started initially, was about those and whether it's lights or any type of crossing. I mean, before we had looked at, there's some crossing signals.
Yeah, we were trying to make it consistent for everybody's purposes
Yeah,
as far as
yeah, as well.
driving and, yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah, we talked about different kind of signage and, the crossing buttons and all kind of different things, and I forget, there was a lot of crossings that we have in town. It's not gonna be an inexpensive project, probably no matter what we do. But, I like this idea.
And here's one where we have a dog leash that's actually LED, and it's really bright. So I just thought it was kind of some type of contrast. You can see what it looks like when it's washed out with the other lights involved.
It's pretty cool.
It is a fancy leash. It's really bright as well.
Thanks for doing that, Mike.
Yeah.
Steve, did you have any?
We didn't look at the overhead lights, we did look at the flashing, LED pedestrian crossing signs, push button activated, and looked at those between Nags Head, Kill Devil Hills, and Kitty Hawk to try to have some uniformity. That all went to DOT, to their engineering, and they looked at it, and they actually recommended that what they have out there with these high visibility crosswalks with the white bars, it's, you know, there's a standard crosswalk that just has a white strip on each side, and then these are what is shown in this picture is what DOT classifies as a high visibility. And and that's the way our crosswalks on 12 are striped, and they felt that they looked at crash data, history, and there was a letter that came back that said, no, in fact, we're satisfied with what we've got. It's actually above the minimum, was their response.
Do you know if we were, because I recall we put forth some, and we asked them if they looked specifically to the evening hours, or did they cover everything? When they were looking at daytime as well as nighttime?
Yeah, we got, I mean, it was kind of a minimal one-page letter back that I think was shared, and it just mentioned crash data and the striping that was out there, and that they didn't recommend.
That doesn't preclude us from doing it on our own, correct? Because they've done it up around Sanderling, and like Michael showed here, up in Southern Shores. So obviously it's doable if you do it yourself, I guess. Yeah.
But, it's one of those things where maybe we can treat it like sidewalks, do, one a year, if it turns out to be really expensive.
I think the crossing ones that you're referring to, that study, didn't they come back at about 3,000?
Yeah, I think it's 3,500 or something, yeah, each. You're right, thanks for reminding me.
So, desire of the board to do what? Hold off and have a discussion closer to budget time, to put this on an upcoming agenda for further discussion, to ask for a cost estimate on something like that. What
Do
would
we
you
still
like
want
to
to
see?
try some coordination between Nags Head and Kitty Hawk? Some on a formal basis?
I'd be happy to, pick up from and find out exactly where Debbie left things with the town managers of Nags Head and Kitty Hawk. We can at least get that report back at the next meeting and then
Yeah.
make a decision from there.
You can mention it unofficially at the mayor's meeting. Yeah. That's a good idea.
Okay, so we'll find out where Debbie left off with things. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
And then maybe under town manager's agenda at the next meeting, town manager's agenda, get a little update and then decide at that point, what do we want to do from there? Great, thank you for bringing that up.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Anything else?
Yep, that as well.
Thank you. Mr. Atton? Mr. Atton?
I want to thank Chief Tilley and to the police department and to the mayor and to everyone else who showed up on Saturday for the Alzheimer's Walk. We had a really, really good turnout, and it was a beautiful day. It was actually hard to believe it was fall. It was so warm. But we did the annual Alzheimer's Walk for Dare County, and I can't get you numbers on how many people were actually there. Terry, I saw you walked in. Terry was there too. And we had lots and lots of folks that were there. And I talked with Diane Denny today, and we generally raise somewhere around $15,000 on that day, and we've to date fallen a little bit short of that, but she's still getting money in. So we've got somewhere between $11,000 and $12,000. So that's still pretty good, but she's still getting some checks in. So not to cut her short on that. I know in years past we've that number's fluid right now, so I don't want anybody getting upset about that. But I do want to thank everybody who was there, and I'll turn it over to you because there's more to come on Alzheimer's. So.
Yes.
All that money stays in the county, right?
Yes, all that money stays in Dare County, and in years past, we did Alzheimer's North Carolina walk, and it sort of stayed in the county and sort of didn't, but now that money definitely stays in Dare County and is either used for respite funds for folks that are Dare County residents, or we use it for educational funds to do educational trainings for both caregivers and providers in Dare County. So now that money is actually earmarked in Dare County and actually physically stays in the county. Yes, thank you, Michael.
Thank you. It's a great event.
I would like to mention the skate park again. I walk by there most days, twice a day, walking the dog. And over the years, I've been pretty impressed with the fact that there's not much litter there. And they seem to patrol it pretty good. And I think early on, there might have been a problem with it many years ago when it first started. I don't remember how many years ago it was, 7 or 8 years ago. But they police it pretty well. And as far as I know, I haven't heard anything. Dana, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have too many issues over there at all?
That's what I said.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Anything else? Thank you. Several items this evening then under Mayor's agenda. The first is in your packet, which is what Brandy was alluding to. We have a proclamation this evening proclaiming and declaring Alzheimer or November as National Alzheimer's Awareness Month. Currently, Alzheimer's affects more than 5 million Americans, and that figure is likely to triple with our aging population by 2050. It's the 6th leading cause of death in the United States, and it's climbing steadily, unfortunately, in the rankings. In your packet is the proclamation as well as a number of facts about Alzheimer's disease. And so with adoption of the proclamation, this would be put on the website for reference and for awareness and education. So with that, I would like to ask for the board, or I'll make a motion for the board to adopt this proclamation recognizing November as National Alzheimer's Awareness Month.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. Share that with Diane, she'll be.
Yes, she was very pleased.
Good. A few other items, just want to share, this past Friday, the Historic Landmarks Committee hosted their annual reception and got a self-guided tour of some of our historic homes. There were 6 homes on the tour, it's a privilege that the homeowners, because people reside in these homes, open their homes so the public can tour. If you didn't pick up or haven't seen the information, this was the information flyer on the 6 homes that were on the tour. And then Meredith and Brian and staff do a really good job each year putting these information booklets together about the historic homes that we have. Do we have extra copies of these probably upstairs? Okay, so if you want one of these, it's really information. It gives you the history on the home and kind of how, the overall history and when it became part of the historic landmark in Killable Hills. So really great event. So thank you to the staff and to the volunteers, specifically the Historic Landmarks Committee that puts this together. And they had a beautiful day as well. They did the reception here out on the lawn, and then the tour followed. So it was a nice event. Mark your calendars, please, for the fire department open house tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, yes. It's from 5 to 7. Chief Tilley, you're welcome to, ready to open the doors and welcome us all in. It's a fun event, great event for the children to engage and interact with the firefighters as well as the apparatus and units. So 5 to 7 tomorrow night. The fire auxiliary will be there cooking. They do a pretty good job serving food for everybody. So hopefully you can come out for that. As well as if you'll mark your calendars for Monday, October 23rd from 4:30 to 7 at Aviation Park. If you recall, we had to postpone our ice cream social because of, I guess it was Maria that was coming through. So please mark your calendars. I think last year, somewhere between 250, 300 people came through that event over that span of time. Is the jazz band rescheduled to participate as well?
I believe both are going to try to be there.
Great. Okay. That's always a highlight too, to hear the kids, not kids, but anyway, play the music. So come out, again, October 23rd, 4:30 to 7. Early voting is actually going to be in Killable Hills here at Town Hall this year. You know, historically sometimes it's been at the Baum Center, but now it's officially here. That starts on Thursday, October the 19th and runs Monday through Friday up until November 3rd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And there's also hours over in Manio at the Board of Elections, and they even have Saturday hours as well, and those Saturdays in between. But certainly encourage everyone to get out and vote for the November 7th election. On October 25th, we will be having, it's a regularly scheduled commissioners meeting. If you recall, twice a year, we don't have an agenda. We use those meetings as an open forum. It's kind of basically like a whole meeting of public comment, where we just have discussion and dialogue more with our citizens. We started this a number of years back to try to, again, facilitate more interaction. So that is our next meeting, actually. So it's the 25th of this month, same time, 5:30. And if there's anything, I don't know, sometimes if there's a hot topic or item that we're pushing, we'll advertise that as well to come out and discuss it. At this point, I don't know of any, so it could just be open, but if you all think of anything before the advertisement goes out to promote the meeting, we can include that as well. But anyway, bring your topics, bring anything you want to talk about, and come join us on October 25th here at 5:30. Bulk trash pickup, if you haven't put your bulk trash out, you have until the 15th to do so. And it goes on the, not on the road, on the curb, or on your property. And collection will start October 16th. Really, you'll appease me, quick story. The other day, instant messenger on Facebook popped up a message from a lady that was just asking when bulk trash collection was. So I told her it's now until the 15th as far as putting it out, and I told her about where to put it and I'd be able to sort it and all that. And I said then that we'll start coming by on the 16th and picking it up. And she sent me a picture of a tremendous amount of yard debris that was in the road. And she said, "This is a problem." I said, "Yeah, please send me your address. I can report it to the town and we'll look into it right away." So she sent me her address, and I didn't recognize the street. So I wrote her back and I said, "Forgive me for asking, but what city or town do you live in? I don't recognize this address." She put Davie, Florida. I said, "I'm Sheila Davies, but in Kildare Hills." And so she wrote back, "I'm so sorry. Obviously, you're not my mayor." She goes, "I wish you were, because you were very responsive." And I told her to feel free and tell her public works that I think that that's a public safety hazard. I mean, it was a massive amount of debris that was in the middle of, or on the side of one street. People were having to drive around it, but anyway, I thought that was funny. So, anyway, but our bulk trash pickup is ongoing. So anyway, have everything out by the 15th, and we'll start picking it up on the 16th. So, and I think that is all that I have this evening. So, yep. With that, we'll move to town manager's agenda,
I don't have anything.
town attorney's agenda.
Just to thank you for the congratulations, I appreciate it, and keeping the legal questions to them. Because I don't know that my brain could process it right now, but no, thank you guys a lot, I really do appreciate it, so.
Yeah. All right, consent agenda. We have quite a few items on the consent agenda this evening. Sean, you can run through that for us?
Yes. Well, there's four items. The first one is the minutes from September 11th meeting. Second item is the North Carolina League of Municipalities membership agreements, and that's for our different municipal insurances. The third item is a management agreement for telecommunication management services and to assure compliance with SEC rules and regulations. It's really just an update of our existing contract with VCOM and Dominic Valeco. And the fourth item is to schedule a public hearing for proposed amendment in zoning to clarify that eligible projects can be developed without taking advantage of a density bonus. Chuck Poe, the former director of the Outer Banks Community Development Corporation, with the designated by Blessings Ministry as a representative to specifically be responsible to assist Kildare Hills with workforce housing. Mr. Poe will provide this service at no charge and will develop monitoring mechanisms for the benefit of the town. Approval of the consent agenda will schedule this item for public hearing on Wednesday, November 15th at 5:30 in the meeting room, and staff recommends approval of the consent agenda as submitted. The motion will be in.
Can we add also the budget amendment?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right, yes, there was, Oh, yes, sorry, yes. Yes, this is to correct funding from the Dare County, provide funding from the Beach Nourishment Capital Reserve Fund. It's really just equalizing what has occurred with the county.
Questions on any of those 5 items? And for those of you, if you were well, the packet's been updated, so never mind. Our original packet only had the 4 items. The 5th was added to be timely to reflect this funding correction. Okay, with that, a motion would be in order.
So moved.
Okay, second?
Second?
And that motion was to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Great. All right, any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. One other item I forgot to mention, because I was just working on this today, actually. So at the League of Women Voters Forum the other night, there were a few topics. We talked about police and some of the unfortunate, the break-ins that have been occurring, and block your vehicles if you're not currently doing so. And please don't leave guns in cars. Quick editorial. But we basically were talking about several items where, and I've already mentioned this tonight once or twice, about citizen engagement and involvement, and how do we interact more with the citizens, and how do we make sure that the citizens truly understand and feel welcomed and engaging with whether it's the board or whether it's staff. Kicked it around this morning early with our police chief and then with Mary, the clerk, and so we're looking at starting to host town talks. And we've already scheduled the first one. It's going to be on Saturday, November the 4th at the Front Porch Coffee Shop in Kettle Hills. And it's going to be coffee with some police officers. I'll be there, if any of the other commissioners, just as an informal way to kind of have coffee talk about anything that we want to talk about. The first topic on this town talk will focus on interacting with our police. But we will then schedule future ones. I'm not sure if it's going to be on a monthly or quarterly basis, where it may be Public Works and the mayor and commissioners, or planning department, or so on and so forth. So if you've heard of TED Talks, those are 18-minute brief presentations. These are going to be town talks. But a kind of an informal way to kind of do more of reaching out to our citizens and putting ourselves out there in a comfortable way to have some conversations. So we'll have a flyer that we'll be sharing and putting out, but you can also mark your calendar for November 4th, 8:30 to 10, Front Porch Cafe in Kildare Hills. And thank you to Suzanne and Paul for hosting the first one for us. Almost forgot that, I'm glad I did. All right, with that, we will move on to the next and last time this evening set aside for public comment. Is there anyone that wishes to speak at this public comment time? Yes, well, I forgot one other thing. I see you sitting there. I'm going to bring one more thing up before we leave.
My name is Dan Freer. I'm Josh's dad. And, I didn't think I needed to speak. I thought he did a great job, but when you mentioned the Duck Research Pier, which is where I work, I was like, whoa, what am I here for? But I wanted to ask Commissioner Appleman, who had indicated that the funding wouldn't possibly be available till next year, and are we on, what's the fiscal year of the town? Is that calendar or?
No, it's June through July.
So
June, sorry.
we'd be talking the fall of next year.
Right, and we start the planning for that as soon as the year begins, really. So that would be, as long as, we're agreeing to put that on a future meeting, which it sounds like we were with the comeback, then that will be introduced as a potential budget amendment, or not amendment, but proposal for that next fiscal year.
Okay, and then lastly, I guess, this kicks it off, but to keep it moving, anything else we can do to keep the ball rolling? I mean, visit these meetings, of course, and keep it fresh.
And if you could find $100,000 before then. Kick it off.
No worries.
Kitty Hawk worth $1 million.
That's right, I heard that.
Okay.
Yeah, Yeah, but thank you, and thanks for being here, and your son did do a great job earlier.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this public comment time? Okay. One other thing I did want to mention, in fact, this may be something that would probably be a great thing to publicize for as part of our forum on the 25th. You all are aware, I'm sure by now, that the plastic bag ban was repealed. And so now I think the focus shifts to what local initiatives could there be to, what's out there, what can we do, what can we, other than encouraging folks to, use recycled bags, or businesses to continue what they were doing with the paper bags. But I know some of the other municipalities are looking at, what charge could we make with this in light of the repeal. So certainly that's something that I'd like to explore more, and if you all would, maybe we can have further conversation. Yes. Public forum on the 25th, and encourage people to bring ideas as well to us. Any other ideas or thoughts?
It's not something that we can do as a town or as a county. I know that was looked at some point, but that's.
Yes, and the county Chairman Woodard was looking at that as well, and what type of Okay, so we will include some type of publication or promotion when we'll include some type of verbiage in our promotion of our public forum. That would include looking at ideas and ways the board and the town.
When's that go out?
That will go out when, Michael? That notice? Is it a week before, typically?
Usually a week before.
Anything else for tonight?
One other thing, something you said reminded me, but I forgot what it was you said, but I remembered what I wanted to remember. We really need some applications for our boards, I don't think we have too many, do we? Or maybe even any, I'm not sure. There are only a few. Yeah, we have the planning board, we have the Community Appearance Commission, Zoning Board of Adjustments, and there's always a need for people to be involved, and it's really not difficult. Most of the meetings are just once or twice a month for an hour or so. Anybody that's interested, just you can get an application online, or you can stop to town and pick it up. And if you'd like to, and you don't think you have the time or something else, just maybe pass along to some of your friends who might seem civic-minded, and see if they can help us out on filling up some of these boards. We actually have a vacancy or two right now that we can't fill, so, and you can appreciate that much.
Great, thank you for that plug. Great. Anything else? Otherwise, a motion to adjourn?
So.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for being here, and have a great evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.